Hello everyone, welcome to my video tutorial for the networking tool Onodo. My name is Fabrizio Lacarra-Ramirez, and I'm a digital humanities assistant for the DH Center here at San Diego State University. In this tutorial, I'll be introducing you all to Onodo, a free browser-based network analysis tool that allows users to visualize relationships through a visual medium. I'll be teaching you how to start your own visualization, showing you techniques to learn the program, and building a model from scratch so you can follow along as you work. All right, let's get started. What is a network visualization? Well, it starts with a network, a system of interconnected people or things. Networks can take many forms, such as social networks like Facebook or Twitter, food webs connecting species in an ecosystem, or the internet itself. A network visualization takes information from these networks and displays them through a visual format. They're a type of graph and can vary greatly in size, style, and structure depending on those building the visualization. Some can be easy to interpret. Others can be infinitely complex. This network graph is from Linked Jazz, a project dedicated to visualizing personal and professional relationships in the jazz community. First thing to do before we hop into Onodo is picking a network to analyze. The only limit here is your own imagination. You can choose to analyze characters from a work of fiction, a play, film, or you can use real people from history. You could even choose to analyze a network of concepts and theories. For this tutorial, I chose to use the 1989 film Do the Right Thing, directed by Spike Lee. Do the Right Thing takes place in Brooklyn, New York, and explores topics of race relation, gentrification, love, and hatred. This film was a good choice for this project because of the huge cast of complex characters involved in the narrative. This allowed me to build an intricate network graph that helped in understanding the relationships between these characters. As stated before, one of the main themes in Do the Right Thing is love and hatred. However, I believe relationships are more complex than this binary, and I wanted to explore the context of each connection within the film. In my project, I'll be analyzing characters and their relationships of love, hatred, or complexities that meet somewhere between the two. Before we hop into Onodo, let's discuss the basic components that make up a network visualization. We have nodes and links. Nodes serve as entities in our graphs. They represent people, characters, and ideas. They often appear as circles in a network graph, but can usually be customized with images or color to distinguish them from other nodes. Links are the connecting lines from one node to another. They represent the relationships between these entities. In a network graph, they're shown as the lines. Let's move to the planning stage. We want to consider what kind of relationships and entities we want to study. For my project, since we're analyzing Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing, I'll be focusing on the loving, hateful, and complex relationships that exist between the characters of the film. I want to point out characters that differ in personality type, whether they choose to engage with other characters actively or passively. To achieve this, I will mark entities as active, passive, neutral, or mediator. Now that we've covered the basics, we can start building our visualization. Go to onodo.org to get started. If this is your first time using Onodo, you'll need to set up a free account first. Once you're here, click Create a Visualization to start a new project. Type a name for your project and choose how you'll start the project. You can begin with an empty table to enter information, or you can upload an Excel spreadsheet file to provide a basis of data for which to start. In this tutorial, we'll be choosing the empty table option. Here's our workspace. On the left side of the screen, we have three buttons: Zoom in, Zoom out, and Full Screen. The first two will change the size of all characters on screen, which is useful when our screen becomes cluttered with the various nodes and links we'll be building. The Full Screen option will temporarily remove the visualization title and options at the top of the screen. This is helpful for increasing the size of your workspace. We have options on the right side of the screen, but we'll get to those later in the tutorial. We can follow the text at the bottom of the page and scroll down to edit. On the left side of the screen, there are two tabs, Nodes and Links. We need to build some nodes first. Let's start with our main character, Mookie. First, click on Add Node. This will make a new entry in our table. Let's name our node Mookie. We can write a brief description for him and add an image. You can also change whether a node is visible or not. This is a helpful tool to use when your network graph is finished to temporarily clear away characters you aren't analyzing in that moment. Clicking on the node will make the sidebar pop up, which includes a description about the character, as well as any images and any custom columns that are involved with the character. You can browse your computer for an image to place inside of the node, or you can choose one from a link from the internet. Once you're done, scroll down to the bottom of the page and hit Save. Let's add another node. Mookie has a sister named Jade. We can give her a description and image just like we did with Mookie. One of the tabs on the table reads Type. This can be used to group nodes with shared characteristics. Giving a node a type status will highlight all nodes of the same type with a shared color. This makes it easy to differentiate between nodes of varying categories or groups. In terms of type for this tutorial, we'll be marking our characters as active, passive, neutral, or mediator. These are important to visualize in my project because they will help us better understand the way characters interact with one another. This will make it easier for us to judge whether a relationship is one built on love or hatred, or one that's more complex. Types can be used to show countless things in your network graph, such as race, identity, or power. There are many ways to visualize, and a network graph should be built around your vision for the project. There's no right way to do it, only the way that works best for you. Jade's more of a passive person, taking things as they come to her, while Mookie is more active, taking initiative and confronting people multiple times throughout the film. Let's make Jade a passive type and make Mookie an active type. When we do this, the nodes that appear on our graph will change color. All nodes with the same type will share the same color, making it easy to identify what kind of character they are. Note that you can't customize the colors for node types voluntarily. Onodo will automatically assign a color to each type. Let's create our first link. Jade and Mookie have a bit of a rough relationship. Since Mookie has trouble keeping a consistent job, he lives with his sister in her apartment. Mookie tends to be very irresponsible, a trait that Jade detests. They often get into arguments over things like work, respect, and responsibilities, but it's clear they still care about each other. These factors have led me to decide this relationship is complex. Let's visualize it now. By clicking the Add Link button on the right, we can connect these two nodes with a link. When creating a link, we have to choose a source, the node where the link begins, and a target, the node where the link connects to and ends. Let's make Mookie the source, since he has more time on screen in the film, and make Jade the target. You can pull the nodes as far apart as you like, but the link will stay connected. Since their relationship is complex, let's write that into the link box. Now, whenever we hover over a character with our cursor, we're able to see what kind of connections they have to other nodes. We can also input a date for this relationship. Since the film's release date was July 21st of 1989, we'll use that for our date. We can also hit the direction button to cause our link to become an arrow. This can be used effectively with one-way relationships. Let me add the rest of the characters in using the same method I just showed you all here. Note, you must manually build all nodes and links. It can take a while when you have a large pool of characters, people, or ideas to analyze. Now that we have a good handful of characters, let's go back to nodes and try adding a custom column. But why use a custom column in your network graph? Well, there's a few reasons. Custom columns allow us to add information to our network graph in a more organized manner. Data put into custom columns will appear in the description of the node you select, making it easy to find. And custom columns provide opportunities for analyzing intersectionalities within a network visualization. There are three types of custom columns we can use: string, number, and Boolean. Let's do one of each. A string column type creates a column in our table that lets you type whatever you like into it. If we make the string column name ethnicity and hit add column, we'll be left with a new column that lets us include the racial background of each character present in the film. To save some time, I went ahead and included all the ethnicities of every character in the film. This is what it looks like when it's done. Our next custom column is the number type. This creates a column in our table restricted to number values. Let's use this to graph out the connections each character has within our visualization. If we make the number column name Relationships, we can track interactions on screen. What you see on screen now is me separating each node from the big mass in the middle to see how many connections each node has. Starting with a mod, I count each line connecting to the different nodes, and I count 8 different relationships. So his number is 8. Bugging Out is a little bit more popular around Bed-Stuy. He has 10 different connections. So we go ahead and write that in the table. I went ahead and counted every single relationship in the network graph. Here's what it looks like on the table. The final custom column is the Boolean type. Before we implement it into our network graph, let's talk about how Boolean types function in Onodo. For those of you unfamiliar with the word Boolean, it refers to a data type with many variables. These variables include, but are not limited to, and, or, not, and many others. Like string and number custom columns, the Boolean operator type helps us filter data in a way that makes it easier to analyze. In Onodo, Boolean functions as a binary variable, meaning it has two possible values, true or false. We could, for example, create a Boolean column type that questions whether a character curses or not throughout the duration of the film. Then, by clicking to check the box, we can change the value to either true or false. Mookie does curse many times throughout the film, while Jade does not. Let's visualize this. By clicking to check the box, we change the value to true. To change the value to false, click the box again to uncheck it. Remember, a box must be checked as true first, and then must be unchecked to become false. All information we put into custom columns will appear at the bottom of each node's description, as you can see right here. You might have noticed by this point that some characters' nodes are much bigger than others. This is because a node becomes bigger the more links it has. Since Mookie is the main character, he has the most links, and his node is notably bigger than the rest. His son Hector, however, only interacts with 3 characters throughout the whole film, making his node much smaller by comparison. One of the challenges I encountered while learning Onodo was the difficulty in having a cohesive color throughout the different nodes in the project. Before I learned that node color was linked to node type, my project looked a bit like a Jackson Pollock painting, with different shades decorating each character with no real rhyme or reason. While we're still not able to choose the color that corresponds to a node type, this is remedied by the fact that utilizing node types creates coherence in the visualization through an easily recognizable hue. This allows any person viewing the visualization to have some context as to who the character is without having to scroll through their entire description. Another challenge I had a hard time with was the inclusion of images within a character's description. If you click on a node, all corresponding information about the character will pop up on the right side of the screen, including their name, custom column details, and description of who they are. When editing a node, it's possible to paste images into the description, but since the pop-up comes from the right side of the screen, some images can be cut off if they're too wide. Resizing images before pasting them into the description can work occasionally, but it's inconsistent. I found more success in using images that were tall instead of long, opting for portraits of characters rather than screen captures of the film itself. Make sure to be mindful of copyright and use images in the public domain. A great benefit about using Onodo as a network visualization tool is that you can theoretically use an infinite number of nodes and links in your graph. This allows for any user to really go in depth with their project. Another aspect of note is how a finalized graph reacts to user input. Clicking on a node will bring up all its information and links, but holding click and tugging on the node pulls all nearby links closer to the one selected, pushing the furthest ones away as well. This makes it easier to see all the connections spread out evenly, a nice addition for when your visualization becomes a bit chaotic. Once you're done editing and satisfied with the product, there's an option to fix nodes to their current position on the right side of the screen. If you'd like, you can drag and drop the nodes into the position you want them and then hit the Fix Nodes button to have them appear the same way whenever your network graph is opened. Let's try this together. I'm going to grab some nodes and fix them to the four corners of the screen. When I refresh the page, the nodes should appear in their Fix Nodes position. After hitting Fix Nodes, the user can still manipulate the position of nodes on the screen, but refreshing the browser will return all nodes to their fixed positions. You can also hit the Actions button on the top right side of the screen and preview your work. This allows you to see what your visualization will look like once it's published. You could always click Edit Info if you want to make any finishing touches to your piece. If you want to make a copy of your project, click the Actions button and hit Duplicate Visualization. This will create an exact replica of your current project, allowing you to make edits that won't permanently change the original. Once everything looks perfect, hit the Publish button to make your network visualization available to the world. Note that you can continue editing even after publishing. If you'd like to view my visualization on Onodo, follow this link. It'll take you right to my network graph for Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. Thank you so much for watching. Good luck on your project, and have a lovely rest of your day.